Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is Silicon Salt Show. I'm Clint Betts. Garrett Clark is here.
Hello.
Real quick, we have some breaking news out of the Federal Reserve. Firm inflation during the first quarter has called into question whether the Federal Reserve will be able to lower interest rates this year without signs of an economic slowdown. That's what Jerome Powell said yesterday. He said the recent data have clearly not given us greater confidence and instead indicate that it is likely to take longer than expected to achieve that confidence. So that's a major shift. I think a lot of folks were expecting cuts, and it doesn't look like there will be cuts, which is new.
Yeah.
So there's your news for the day. Today's show is brought to you by Black Desert. It's committed to one thing above all, fostering an endlessly fun and fascinating resort community without any pretense that puts the remarkable within reach. Home to a PGA FedEx Cup and LPGA event, Black Desert offers world-class golf, hospitality, dining, shopping, and recreating in a stunning 600-acre canvas in the heart of Greater Zion, Southern Utah. More info at blackdesertevents.com. Black Desert is incredible. We talk about them all the time. Wonderful place. Everyone should check it out. We have other news we want to get to, but man, do we have a CEO and a leader here, and a co-founder and a president of Just Ingredients. Please introduce him, Garrett.
Jeff Call, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, glad to be here.
You've brought some product as well that we can show. That's always smart.
Yeah.
We had your wife on the conversations a couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun and standing room only. The questions from the audience are really, really good because you guys have a very loyal group of customers. Might even call them fans. But let's start with kind of the founding story. How did this all come to fruition?
Yeah. So, I have to go back quite a bit just to kind of give the background and where this all began. If we look back about 17 years ago, we had 3 little kids, and my wife and I were living in California, and she started suffering from severe suicidal depression. And it was kind of a hard journey for her. And from that point, she kind of had to go through this whole journey of how do I get my body back to the way it was before. And so she went through this health journey. She worked with multiple doctors. And that's kind of where she started this whole education process of how do I treat my body better? How do the things that I put in and on my body affect my body and my health? And as she started learning these things, she started looking around. Everybody around her were suffering from things like anxiety, depression, autoimmune disease. All these issues were going on, migraines, things like that. And people just weren't feeling healthy. But as you try to tell people, hey, I went through my health journey, you should try this. People sometimes don't want to listen, especially those closest to you, right? Friends and family, neighbors, they're all like, well, they don't want to listen. So ultimately she thought, well, if I put this in a platform where people can come in, whenever they want to come look at it, if they want to read about it, if they want to hear about it, then they can. So she created an Instagram account where she could put this information, all the education that she's received over the years, put it together and put it in Instagram and just kind of said, hey, everybody, if you want to learn about, how these things affect your body, some small changes you can make in your daily lifestyle that will have huge benefits down the road, then come to the Instagram page and check it out. And so that's where she started. And ultimately, a couple of years into it, it just kind of took off. And it went from like 2,000 followers to 10,000 to 50,000 to 100,000. And currently we're just over a million followers. And that's kind of where this whole thing started, was with education. And then as we started getting all of these followers on social media, they were asking for products like, hey, we want better products, and they're hard to find out there. So we decided we'd start helping the process by creating some products that would fill the gaps. And so that's what we did. And we started doing that. And as you said, people are big fans of the products. And ultimately, I say they're big fans of Karalynne and kind of the trust that she's created with our followers and her followers.
She is a straight up celebrity.
She is, because
she's become, no, seriously. I mean, that event we did, probably the biggest event we've had in a long time and it was just one of our normal Friday conversations. Like, that was pretty incredible.
Yeah. And we'll be at Be Healthy this weekend, and there will be people lined up to see her. And I tell people that say, why do they care so much about her? And I said, do you know what? Because she's changed their lives, and they want to tell their story to her. They want to give her a big hug and say thank you. And because of you, I'm now pregnant with my second child, which, that's one of the issues that people have is infertility. They say I'm off my antidepressant medication. They just want to hug her and say, thank you so much for helping me make all these changes. And now I'm helping people around me make changes. And so people have more of a connection than just, oh, she's an Instagrammer, I want to follow her. She's changed their lives literally. And so they're invested in her, and they've created this trust. And that's why they're fans of our products as well, because that trust has been established. And so they know if they buy a Just Ingredients product, it's going to be a product that meets the same standards that Karalynne has just adhered to everything that she's done.
Yeah,
So,
that's incredible.
yeah.
So how did you get to a point where you started making products off of that? Like, she
Mm-hmm.
starts by like, here's health tips, here's various things that I've done. Come check it out on Instagram. At what point do you we're going to start getting into the product game?
Yeah. So I remember it was about a year after her Instagram started getting a little bit bigger. We decided to put together what we called cheat sheets. These were digital downloads that would basically outline, hey, these are the 10 easiest swaps to make at the grocery store. And it would list 10 items that would say, here's what's in it that's bad. Here's the product you can switch it with. And it's a really simple switch. And if you make these 10 switches, you'll have a big impact in your life. And they were like $2, right? So we put those on our website, and people downloaded them to the point where we were identifying a significant amount of people just hungry for this information. And then through the ability of contacting us through DMs and all that kind of stuff, we started hearing feedback. It's like, hey, I can't find a good deodorant. I can't find a good this. And we were like, hey, we made a little bit of money off of these downloads. Let's create a product. So we created a deodorant and a face serum. That's where we started. Just something that people use on a daily basis, but there aren't very many good options out there. So these were an easy product to start with and to make. And from there, we just have kind of grown into over 200 SKUs today.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Where did you start? Because I know you have a number of different lines. You have beauty, you have nutrition. Which one did you start on? Was it nutrition?
So we did start with the skincare.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
I wouldn't have guessed that, actually.
Yeah. So again, it was, that's where people were most interested in is, hey, I can't find good options for these. So it's funny, we didn't get into the nutrition line. We created a protein about 3 years. It hasn't even been 3 years yet since we created the protein. And I remember one time I was sitting at the kitchen counter and I was making the protein that is actually a really good protein, but it just tastes horrible. And I finally said to Karalynne, I was like, look, I either can't drink a protein because it kills my stomach or because it has bad ingredients in it and it's going to wreck me, or it's got really good ingredients, but it just tastes like, hay, right? And I'm like, I need something in between. I said, I'm done with protein. I'm done taking it. I know I need it, but I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And she just looks at me and she goes, well, let's just make our own then. I said, I'm on board. Let's go do it. And it took us a little while. We had to go find, food scientists. We had to go. And honestly, when they sit down with us and we're like, hey, this is what we want to make, they literally laughed at us and said, yeah, you can't do that. And we're like, no, we can. It's going to be hard. It's going to be expensive, but we're going to do it. And we've worked through a couple different food scientists, and ultimately we came up with a protein product that just uses whole food ingredients. And it took a little while. It was hard.
Isn't it crazy? Like, more people don't do that. Like, what is it? Is it just like easier not to do that?
Yeah, it's so easy. So imagine if you're making a protein. So if you start with a base, right, you can go into a flavor house and say, I want this to be vanilla. And they drop a couple of drops in there and you've got your vanilla. They drop a couple of drops of, chocolate, you've got your chocolate. They can make it cotton candy flavor. They can make it whatever flavor they want. And they can call it natural ingredients. The problem is natural ingredients is not really defined. It can be anything. The classification of natural doesn't mean anything really. And so when we decided to make a protein, we wanted to use only food to flavor it. So the example I use is when we made our vanilla, it took us a year to formulate our vanilla protein because we only used vanilla bean, and we added a little bit of cinnamon for some flavor pop and a little bit of coconut milk. But ultimately, it's just the vanilla bean. And we flew in vanilla beans from all over the world. Ultimately, we settled on Madagascar vanilla beans because they just taste that much better. But when you're using when you're using real foods to flavor things, every little thing it's just so different. So it's hard. and nobody wants to do it because it's hard and it's really expensive. And so that's why we do it. And there aren't any other people out there. We're having success, and there aren't a lot of copiers out there because they're not willing to do it.
It's hard.
It is. It's really hard.
You've built a kind of a really good moat for your business, actually, by focusing on that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you get laughed at by a food scientist, but then convince them. Are you the taste tester and you're the final approval?
So Karalynne and I are both. Yeah, we have a couple people that we trust that we bring with us, but ultimately we meet with a food scientist still every week, and we sit down for an hour or two. I was just there yesterday, drinking all these different flavors, different options, trying to make adjustments, and ultimately, Karalynne and I. It's funny because we have different palates, and so I call her palate broken because she's used to eating healthier food, and I'm the one that eats, like a normal person for the most part. And so our palates are a little bit different. And so I try to balance it out so that we can come up with a product that tastes good to both people who are used to eating really healthy foods and those who are eating, their regular foods.
Yeah.
So.
Because if you go from strawberry shakes and Whoppers to health food, sometimes that's a bridge too far for people.
It can be, but ultimately, like, we created a strawberries and cream protein, and we use real strawberries. We take freeze-dried strawberries and crush them up, and that's our flavoring for our strawberries and cream. People say this actually tastes better than any other strawberries and cream I've ever had, or strawberry, because we're like, yeah, it's real strawberries. It's not a flavor house strawberry, right? It's actually the real strawberry.
Yeah.
So. People,
that's so cool.
Yeah.
And if memory serves, she mentioned she didn't grow up eating healthy. It was like white bread and bologna. And
yeah. Like, we're a child of the 80s, right? That's what we did. We ate Lucky Charms for breakfast.
There was no such thing as nutrition.
No, it was like the four food groups, right? Just make sure you had your pyramid, fulfilled, and that meant a couple bites of vegetables and whatever processed food you ate is part of the balanced meal, right? We grew up saying, hey, Lucky Charms is part of this nutritious breakfast,
magically delicious.
So, and nothing against Lucky Charms for those who like it, but it ultimately is not the healthiest food for you.
Yeah, that should be clear with the marshmallows. Marshmallows are a good dead giveaway for that one.
A bowl of Lucky Charms every once in a while, though, is pretty good.
They are very tasty. In college, I think I ate them every night. So,
Oh yeah, it's the best cereal.
I think it would kill me now, but back then, every night.
Yeah. You mentioned, like doing it the right way and doing it with natural ingredients is harder.
Yeah.
With that, there's probably some supply chain issues. You've mentioned Madagascar. We were talking a little bit before. You mentioned two island nations, Ireland and New Zealand. Can you kind of give that story of like the whey protein and kind of the struggles you have with supply chain?
Sure. So when we decided to make our protein, we flew in. So it had to be 100% grass-fed whey. There's some nutritional benefits by using it. So we flew in 100% grass-fed whey from all over the world, and we literally put them in vials with just water, and we tasted them individually because we wanted to start with the best tasting ingredient first. And I'll tell you, there is a big difference between where the whey comes from and what it tastes like. Some of the whey was so horrible, like you couldn't drink it plain, right? And that's why you take it to a flavor house and say, hey, cover the flavor up because this is horrible. So we identified New Zealand whey as absolutely the 100% absolute best tasting whey. It literally tasted like water. We're like, this is the one. This is what we're absolutely going for. And since then, we've also identified that Ireland has a very similar whey. But we started focusing on New Zealand. But ultimately, when we're looking at a whey isolate that is 100% grass-fed whey, there's only a finite amount of whey produced in the world. And you're looking at a country like New Zealand who has restrictions in place, carbon restrictions, farming restrictions, whatever kind of restrictions they have in place. And so the amount of whey that they're currently producing is literally the max that they're ever going to produce. They're never going to produce more because they can't add more cows to their farms. They already have maxed that out. And so we're looking at, world supply. There's a worldwide shortage this year. So we're in competition with China and all these other places who are trying to grab this whey. And so we flew out to New Zealand this year and met with the producers of our whey. We met with the actual farmers, went to the farms and saw the cows and the way that they process it. It's 100% different than what we've seen anywhere else. And the weather allows the cows to basically pasteurize all year round, right? So it's a very special climate. It's a very special farming practices that allow this whey to be exactly what we need it to be. But it's hard to get. And so it's a huge supply chain for us. We're trying to grab as much as we can. We're looking everywhere in the world to see where we can find more whey that meets the same kind of standards. And so it's always a challenge for us to make sure we have enough as we continue to grow, to make sure we have enough supply to meet that demand.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's
It's
an
challenging.
interesting challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, they're maxed out, right? Like to your point.
They are. They are.
Unless there's a volcano in New Zealand pops up.
So we just keep asking them to potentially repurpose what they're making. So they can choose to make various kinds of protein. And, if we can have them make more of the whey isolate 90, then that really helps us. And so we're working with them to do that. So it's the only way we're going to up the supply is if they actually say, hey, we're going to make less 80-20 concentrate, make more 90-10 isolate. And that's what we need because it's what we use. Yeah.
What was your partnership like with the Jazz? I know you're partnering with them now, but like that's a big deal. Right? Every time I go to a game, it's everywhere.
So we appreciate that you identify that because we love our partnership with the Jazz, and it was for that reason, right? We really kind of captured a really strong market on Instagram and social media, and we literally heard from every single man, "Hey, my wife loves you."
Yeah.
That's what we were. So we knew the wives loved her. We knew the wives loved our products. But what we were identifying is that the men were like, yeah, I like your products too. They're really good, but my wife loves you. Like, okay, we've got to sit here and figure out a way to get our name and our products out to people who are not on social media, who are not following Karalynne on Instagram, right? So how do we do that? And funny enough, the Jazz actually approached us. And they said, hey, our deal with Gatorade just ended, and we're talking with a number of companies, but we have a number of fans in our office who love your products, and we want to have you guys come in and just meet with us. And so those conversations went on, and ultimately we decided it was going to be a great fit. We can partner with them. They can use a good, healthy product to promote, and ultimately it's been a really good partnership for us. It's been a lot of fun. And I think, over the next few years, we'll just continue to grow with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are you going to sponsor the hockey team too?
They haven't approached us yet.
By the way, there's actually some news on the hockey team that we should get to. The Coyotes will say goodbye to Arizona today. And by the way, this is not official yet. At this point, nothing's official. The deal to move the franchise to Utah still needs to be completed, signed, and announced by the league. Something that could come as soon as this week, but that's all just logistics. The players and coaches have accepted that the Arizona era of the franchise is over, and they will do a little goodbye from their stadium, Mullet Arena. And come on up.
Come on. It better get official sooner. They're just going to be vagabonds. Like, we'll play in St. George, I guess.
There's a lot of people. Arizona's like pretty mad at Utah for taking it.
There's like more people in Phoenix than the entire state of Utah, probably.
Yeah.
And
well, imagine you're Phoenix. You're like, who took our team?
Yeah,
it's like Utah, right above you.
Yep.
Salt Lake City, a much smaller city.
Well, yeah, I guarantee they're going to be mad for a long time. But hopefully for them, they get another expansion team and can do it right this time, and that would be a natural
I don't care
rivalry.
if they get one. Why do you care?
Because that rivalry would be good.
Oh, I see.
The Cutthroats against the Coyotes.
Yeah.
The Venom. It's like when the Ravens play the Colts.
Yeah. Okay.
That type of thing. Yeah.
I like that. That's
Yeah.
cool. What do you think about the hockey coming to Utah? Are you a big hockey fan?
I've never been to a hockey game. I hear they're amazing.
Really?
I really need to go, but
yeah,
I think they'd be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited. I love the fan base here in Utah. I've lived in Arizona. And there's a reason why they're coming here, because the fans here are amazing. We are 100% bought in, right? When we buy into a team, we buy in, whether that's a college team or professional team, even on the high school level, right? People are bought in, and I think they see that. The leagues, different leagues around the country are seeing that, and I think with baseball, hockey, I think we're going to start seeing more and more of that coming here.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Jazz, who had, bluntly a terrible season for the Jazz, like probably one of the worst in franchise history. Sell out every game.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, some of those games were really fun. They were fun.
Oh, yeah.
They were
I
fun.
actually really liked this team. This team was fun.
Yeah. And when they made the trades and got rid of a couple of the players, and then they really struggled for a bit, they brought in the rookies and a number of people that they're just trying to identify. Are they going to keep these players for the future of the Jazz? And at first it was like, whoa, this is hard to watch, right? Like you look at a player like Hendricks, for that first game he came in, he just struggled.
Yeah.
But you saw the last few games, man, they have improved so much. And so you can see where the Jazz are going with this, right? They're like, let's develop these kids. And if they're going to be good enough, then we're going to develop them.
Yeah.
So those started getting really fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. It was
Yeah.
a fun season.
Yeah.
You mentioned you guys have 200 SKUs now.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys decide on new products, new angles? Is it gut? Is it data? Is it a mix of both?
It's a little bit of everything, right? We're focusing on everything that goes in and on the body, right? So we look at that. We look at what's missing in the marketplace. Sometimes it's opportunity. Hey, this product is exactly fitting a need that we need, and it's a new product, right? We can go look at that. Or sometimes we're like, man, we can't find it ourselves, so let's just make it. So there's a number of things that are going on. But ultimately, a lot of it's opportunity. A lot of it is just hard work on our team, finding those products that are ultimately going to make a big difference in people's health and their lives.
Yeah. If there's a scoreboard of all of the SKUs, which ones are doing the best in 2024?
So our proteins are continually our kind of our hero product.
Yeah.
The people, they've really hit a nerve with people. They really, really like them because the way they're formulated, and I won't go into the details, but it's formulated to be gentle on the stomach. So people who typically can't tolerate a whey-based protein, because we use plant-based as well. We use chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, and so forth. And because of that, and the lack of, we've removed the casein out of the protein, it's half the lactose. So because of all these things, they can tolerate it. So all these people who are like, oh, I'll just take the protein because I have to. They now take it and they enjoy it. And so they'll do 2 or 3 servings a day, and it helps them get their protein levels up. But so protein's always been that hero product, but we have a number of things coming out. Like at the end of last year, we launched our probiotics. We can't even keep that in stock. It is an amazing product for gut health. And anybody who struggles with any kind of gut health, which is basically everybody, right? Mm-hmm. It's a pre, post, and probiotic. So very rarely do you find all 3 in the same product. And so we've produced this product that provides all 3. And so not only does it help with gut microbiome, but it actually heals the gut lining. So it's an amazing product, and we can't even keep it on the shelves. So
That's incredible.
yeah.
What about your broths? I saw like you had bone broth on there or something.
We do. So that's one of those products where we created where it's like, is there a huge need for a broth? No. But ultimately, when you're talking about gut health, and that's a lot of what we focus on is gut health, there aren't many things better out there than bone broth. So the idea behind this, or the concept behind this, is to create a broth that's literally like a powder that you stick in and you heat up and you drink it like a cup of coffee in the morning. So it ultimately it's a nice warm drink that you drink, and it helps with the gut microbiome and ultimately feeling better throughout the day. So it's been a great product for us, and we'll continue to kind of create those kind of products.
Yeah, I'm excited to try the broth. That's the
I should have brought you some. I'm sorry I didn't bring you
Are
that.
you kidding? No worries.
Get it. So those probiotics can actually like repair damage.
Yeah, the postbiotic in there can actually repair the gut lining. So if you've ever heard of leaky gut, that's kind of one of those concepts that you can go deep into that. But ultimately, the holes that are in the gut lining can be repaired through the postbiotic.
That's a big deal for a lot of people, right?
It is. Yeah, it really is.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. How do you keep that? How do you increase supply? Get more of that? Like, what is that, like a supply chain constraint there?
So yes.
Yeah.
So it's made with kombucha, and that's one of the main ingredients that we use. And the kombucha is once we place an order, they start making it. So it's a long turnaround time. It's a 12-week turnaround time, and so we have to kind of make sure that we understand. It's been a much more popular product than we anticipated. It's why we had some issues of keeping it in stock. But as we move forward, it's just a matter of making sure that our suppliers can meet that demand, and we give them enough time to make the products on demand. So there is a supply chain because we have to use a very specific product.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned at the beginning you get a lot of like really cool stories from your customers and fans.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody goes all in and starts using y'all's stuff, what do you think the change is as far as like weeks, days, months, years? Is there any stories of like 3 months ago I was despondent and bloaty and flatulent, all of that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and 3 months later, like completely?
Yeah, we hear that. Typically, I would say the fastest one is going to be the probiotic is really your quickest turnaround. Somebody who is literally experiencing bloating and gassiness and that kind of and gut just unrest, that can fix within 30 days, right? That's a really quick turnaround. A lot of the other things is your overall health, right? That's going to be something that's going to take a little longer over time. But as you sit there and you start monitoring your own health and the way you feel on a daily basis, you're going to see that there's a change over time. And that could be ultimately kind of depends on your starting point. It could be 30 days, 2 weeks for some people. It can be 6 months for others. It just depends on if your starting point is really far off of optimum health, it's going to take a little longer.
Yeah. But in that the kind of whole thing started with like mental health and wasn't working traditional methods and means. For folks that are having those types of issues, that's got to be one of the more rewarding turnarounds that you guys get to hear, where it positively affects their life, their well-being and their mental health, right?
No, it is for sure. When I've sat there for hours next to Karalynne, when these people would line up just to tell their story, and I've heard some amazing stories and people literally life-changing, right, in many aspects, from quality of life to, again, having children and those kind of things. And it's amazing to hear. And yeah, it's dramatic in some cases. I mean, again, completely life-altering.
Yeah. Is there any weight loss and dieting products that you guys have or will have?
Dieting is never really the thing that we ever want to focus on. It's going to be more about if you're living a lifestyle, and ultimately I focus on trying to eat anti-inflammatory foods. And by doing that as a side effect, you do kind of lose weight in that, because the foods that are hard on the body typically tend to be a little worse for you and help you gain a little weight.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I can attest to that.
Hey, we have a couple more news stories here. We have all these people who are running to replace Senator Romney, who's not running this time. Representative John Curtis has raised the most amount of money. He's led his opponents in campaign contributions, according to KSL. He raised nearly $1.4 million since swapping his House re-election bid for U.S. Senate campaign in January. He has raised over $3 million in this cycle. And then it looks like we have Speaker Wilson, who has about $1.25 million on hand. And then there's a lot of people who are loaning a lot of money to their campaign. Jason Walton, who was the Moxie Pest Control CEO, or maybe he still is the CEO of that. He's loaned his campaign $2.5 million.
Yeah.
It's a bit of money.
Yeah. It is. It seems like a couple million too much for a Senate race in Utah, but it is their own money, so I guess they can do whatever they want.
Then you've got Orrin Hatch's son is running. Did you know that?
Yeah.
He has raised $237,000. So, and then you've got the Trent Staggs guy, and Staggs has raised 197 is all. That's not very much. Interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, this man, watch out for this Walton guy. It sounds like he can just outspend everybody.
Yeah. See if it works. I like the conviction, put your money where your mouth is, literally. I still, like, those numbers are too big for me. It's like flyers and billboards and get out the vote. That's a lot of money for a primary. Not even guaranteeing.
Yeah, what do you think they're spending money on? Billboards?
No, there's only a few billboards out there, right? So
I actually don't know what you'd spend your money on.
It's good to be a billboard owner. I do see the the billboards, but you'd think you could do that on a smaller budget. Flyers? I don't know. Pens? Koozies?
Staffing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Interesting.
A lot of money for a couple months.
We should get somebody who's run a campaign. They're like, you guys are idiots. Here's everything that it costs, and here's why. Another story is there's something happened in Dubai. What do you know about this, Garrett?
Not a lot, other than it's raining like a banshee, and deserts don't do well when it rains. But
Record rain across the desert nation of the UAE and floods Dubai's airport.
yeah.
Wow.
Weirdly enough, I texted a friend yesterday asking him if he was going to be at something on Friday, and he sent me a video of him in a Tesla Cybertruck, and there was water all up in the cab. They're in some tunnel trying to get to the airport, but it was 2-3 feet of water. So that whole region's going to be stuck for a while.
By the way, finally, the big news happening in the world is we got Kevin Young to come to BYU.
Yeah.
And man, is his contract huge for a college coach. I think it's $30 million for 5 years.
Wow.
He can run for Senate soon.
Yeah. He can buy a billboard.
And everyone is saying what an incredible pick this was, how incredible it was that they got him even to come to college. He was in line for an NBA head coach.
Yeah.
In fact, there's reports that he turned down the Nets head coach, Brooklyn Nets head coach job last year. So for him to leave the NBA and come to Provo and BYU, and for BYU to make that commitment, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, big time. Would you rather be a college coach or an NBA coach?
I'd rather be a college coach.
Me too. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're willing to listen to you a little bit more, and you can actually coach.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if I always would have said that. Like, there probably was an era where I would have been like NBA would have been cool. But I think college is funner.
Oh, so much better.
It's just funner. It's like it matters to everyone. Whereas NBA doesn't feel like who do we want to root for this year? Like, I don't know.
I decided it's the Timberwolves.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
We got Rudy on there. I
They
like
need
that.
it. Long suffering.
Yeah.
I generally go to the long suffering fan bases.
So what's next? And how do you decide a new product? Like what goes into the decision? Like, hey, we're going to put a new product on the site.
yeah, so we've got coming out some muffin and pancake mixes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So we love the concept of, there's another local brand that we love the concept of creating a protein kind of breakfast food, right? Breakfast a lot of times are carb heavy and there's not a lot of proteins there. And so when we make pancakes or waffles at home or muffins, we oftentimes just use our protein mix in it. And it's actually really good, right? And we're like, why don't we just put this in a place where people can just throw in a couple eggs and some milk, and they can just go ahead and go to town with it. And so that's what's coming up on the horizon, and we think that's going to be a lot of fun. And we came up with that because we're already doing it, right? We have an entire cookbook that people can download from our website that just talks about, hey, how to use protein in recipes, right? And oftentimes it's going to be something like pancakes or breakfast foods, and so we're just going to make it easier for them. So sometimes it's just a matter of people are asking for it, and so we'll make it.
Yeah. Are you surprised by your success? I mean, Just Ingredients has blown up. This is a major company. This is a company of concern, as they might say.
I would say yes and no. Yes, in the fact that that I'm involved in a company that has grown this rapidly, in my opinion, and successfully. Like, I would never have imagined that we would be where we are today. However, knowing my wife and knowing who she is, and she's probably the most capable CEO I've ever worked for, and her drive and her passion is amazing. And so because of that, I'm not that surprised. She has everything she's ever done in her life has been successful, right? When she was a teacher, she taught math in high school. That's what she went to school for. She was the best math teacher at the school. All the scores showed it. Everything she's done is just turned to gold. So from that perspective, no, it doesn't surprise me.
That's incredible. Well, congratulations on all your success, man.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, no, this has been fun.
Yeah, this is cool. And sponsor the hockey team when they come.
We'll see.
Why not? Why not? We got tomorrow. We got Nicholas Anderson, who is the president and founder of Member Sports
Yes, indeed. It'll be fun.
Incorporated. All right,
week.
everybody have a good day, and we'll see you tomorrow.